The pandemic, in a paradoxical way, I think has brought teams closer together. As an editorial team, we used to be in the office around 3 or 4 days a week before COVID, and now we meet every day at 12 o'clock over Zoom. And then also with the commercial team, it's easier to talk in a weird way because we're just connected more often. Even with the campaign editorial teams in other parts of the world, we've got a great WhatsApp group, and we've been just doing a better job, I think. It's hard especially the last year with the downturn in business. We were a smaller team, so we had to lean on each other a bit more. And I think that brought us closer together too. The other thing that I think the intensity of the pandemic and the isolation has been hard on people, I think on all of us and our families and loved ones. And our company, Haymarket's, had an employee assistance program. And, I think we were all trying to look out for each other a bit more because we know it's been hard.
It's about trust. We trust our teams to deliver. They've performed amazingly through COVID. Our productivity has gone through the roof. So, we obviously, trust our staff to be able to continue with that. And if they want to work from home, then, flexible needs to mean flexible. I think the other things that we've done have put in lots of non-work engagement activities. So be it, an 11 a.m. coffee break, educational sessions for the teams on a variety of different non-work related topics. We've obviously done the standard quizzes, which I think everyone got a bit bored with after a couple of months. We've done end of year awards. We've even had a Christmas party. And I think the highlight for me was probably drag queen bingo with the amazing Charlie Hyde. So if you haven't done that, you should check that out. And then the final thing on, what it's made us have to do is give our staff the ability to be able to fail on projects. The innovation has gone through the roof at Sift. It's been incredible how people have adapted, flexed and pivoted their plans, but we've allowed people to kind of try things. And I think, whereas before we always did that, I think that through COVID and from working from home, we've kind of upped that ante. So we've seen huge innovation across our titles and across our brands over the last 18 months.
I think at News UK, we're really, really proud of everything we've done around communication over the last 18 months. So our communication has improved. There's more of it. It's much more interactive. We provide people the opportunity to ask questions. We have various huddles in each department, and we also have a company huddle every week. And we've had some really exciting guests on those huddles, like Jose Mourinho, Tim Henman most recently. What we do is really exciting as a company, and to be able to bring that to our communication with our staff is really important. We've also been really good, I think, at celebrating the successes. So it has been a difficult time, but we've also had lots of good things happen in that time, lots of awards, some great performances as a company. So we've been strong at making sure that people know that and that we're thanking people. I think we've been really adaptable. We were a very traditional company where people were expected to be in the office, and overnight, as many companies we've adapted, but we've continued that, and we've gone from strength to strength. We haven't gone, no, this isn't for us, which I'm really pleased about. And I think also one thing that I'm especially proud of is that we started asking fairly early on digitally about people's mental health. So we got in touch with everyone on a weekly basis and asked people how they were feeling and asked them to answer on a scale. And then we got in touch with those people confidentially to see what support they needed. So we've been able to interact with people in a variety of ways.
So I think the last 18 months, let's just speak honestly, they've been hell. But what they've also meant is that we've, as a company and myself as a leader, we've looked at myself, looked at the company, looked at the policies and procedures that we've got in there. Some we've got right, some we've got wrong. But I think some of the things that we've introduced is obviously working from home. We're going to be continuing that. So it's a 3-day, 2-day, and that's company policy, well, for as long as I'm CEO. So 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, once we're all fully back in the office. Culture days, So every month we have an away day. We just jot down tools and we go and do things to understand each other's culture, whether it's going to a place to eat food. We do fun things as well, like canoeing. We went last 2 weeks ago canoeing. We've got, what is it called? The Crystal Maze coming up in a couple of weeks as well. But also wrapped around that is getting to understand each other. We do sort of team tasks, etc., to where each team can do a sort of task that introduces what they understand as their culture and what they understand as their work colleagues' cultures as well, to just try and bring us all closer. Because I think, I'm recording this 2 days after the English team have played some amazing football, but we know what's, I'm sure I don't need to tell anybody what's been happening over the last 24 hours. So understanding culture, being more in tune with the people around us is just even more important now.
I'm just going to share with you an element of doing, and then I'll talk about some of the trainings we've done. So the doing is as simple as using the raise your hand functionality in whatever, Google Meet, Zoom, to ask to speak up, because not everybody is as confident as everyone else. And so it takes a strong leader or a strong facilitator to embed that new practice. But once you have your leader on board, and they really embrace that new functionality, it works like a charm, because then you also do it in the order that people raise their hands. So there is a sense of fairness, and people know that they're going to be noticed, if you will. So that's a small thing that we did implement. We did an inspiring session with Ada Paris on Black Lives Matters. We did an introvert training just to make us understand, where we are individually on the spectrum, because most of us are actually in the middle. Depending on the situation, we can be introvert or extrovert, but it's also recognizing that introverts have a lot to contribute, except they're not shining, they're not giving their best in the usual setup that we conduct meetings. So it's how you do those things. So for example, you can have an open document while the meeting is being conducted, and introvert can write in the document, or you break down a working session in smaller modules with time in between, so that the introvert can reflect back and then contribute what they have to say in those intervals. What else did we do? Oh, we had somebody from our UX team who talked about how they integrate inclusion and diversity in product design. So how they think about all different aspects of diversity when building a product, which was fascinating, I have to say.
So what can publishers do to change the status quo? I think definitely need to be more inclusive, need to look outside sort of traditional areas for recruitment, because we are all in people businesses. It's so important to try and make sure our workforce reflects the country at large. We've had the census in the UK this year, so that's going to be interesting. How do our digital publishers' workforces match up with the country at large? Also, we're quite a London biased industry. There's the whole of the UK. And when I think about things that we can do to change, I think collecting data is really important. At Haymarket, we've made a big effort to collect demographic data, different personal characteristics from staff. And it's these kinds of things, measuring and then measuring again to track progress over time, that's going to be key to driving change. Plus, I'd say giving leaders incentives to deliver on this. Sometimes it comes down to money.
Back in June, on the back of the BLM movement, we set up a data and inclusion group, which had 9 people immediately kind of come forward and want to take part in. And those guys set an agenda, and we had lots of meetings about, what it is, what do we want that group to do, and what do we want to achieve as a business. I think from a digital publishing perspective, we obviously have a huge opportunity. We reach 1.5 million business professionals every single month. So you've got to look at the site and the makeup of that site and how it's put together. So we looked at all of the imagery to try and get better representation in terms of what we were actually seeing on site. We then looked at our speakers, our writers, and our freelancers, and did a bit of an audit of how diverse is that group of people that are writing, and we put some fairly fundamental changes in place. We've also as part of the D&I group, I think it's important to look at champions within your business, people that are really going to, you know, drive that agenda. They've got to be passionate about the topic and the area, and the specific roles that, you know, we've been really lucky in is editorial. Obviously, they're the guys going out writing the stuff. And if you have champions in an editorial, that's a brilliant place to be. I think allowing staff the time and the energy and to be able to explore these topics is also important. We're all incredibly busy people. You know, day to day, they have objectives and targets linked to, you know, the stuff that's going on in their core markets that they have to deliver on. But allowing them the time to look at D&I as an agenda item, I think, is really important. And then the final one is just, it has to come back to the leadership team. These things need to be on management team agendas. They need to be, we talk about it at board level, and importantly, it has to be authentic. You know, an example of that is that we debated long and hard about what we would do for Pride Month. And in the end, we've ended up creating 22 pieces of content across our publications, which has had a huge reach. And actually, you know, we've had a massive amount of positive feedback on what we've done. We've obviously flown the Pride flag, which is, you know, what a lot of organisations do, but we've backed that up with lots of different things, including some fundraising and putting our money, you know, behind certain projects like Bristol Pride. In terms of looking at equity in the economy, the one thing that we realised quite quickly was that there's quite a lot of bias that takes place through a recruitment process, and if you want to reach people beyond the kind of standard places that you go, you have to advertise into different channels and different areas and extend the reach into broader areas. We combine doing that by, you know, using different kind of mediums and channels and places to go by putting in a blind hiring platform. And what that effectively means is that when CVs come through, it extracts all of the personal and demographic information so that you're just looking at hiring based on capability and based on the experiences that those individuals have. And that's quite a big position that we made.
I think we really saw this with the Black Lives Matter protests last year after the tragic murder of George Floyd. Obviously started in the US and quickly came over to the UK. And for us, it was an opportunity to speak to our staff about what it meant for them and what their experiences were, and for white people to listen to that as well. And our CEO sat down with a number of our cultural diversity network and really spoke to them about what their experiences were and understood that, and emailed all of our staff about how profound she had found that experience. We were at the time already working on our diversity strategy, but it gave us a lot to think about in the strategy creation and making sure that we were doing enough when it came to ethnic minority representation. We launched our strategy in autumn last year. The strategy is around 3 main areas. So the first one is around recruitment, so bringing in more equal representation across our business. The second one is about leadership, so how we retain the diversity of our leadership. And the third one is around our products and how inclusive they are. And I think, you know, this has been set by the public because they want to see our products be more inclusive. They want to see businesses be more inclusive and representative of the wider population in the UK. And I think we have stepped up to that. We have a lot of work to do. We work in a traditional organisation. For example, we have set ourselves a target of 50-50 gender representation and 20% on ethnic minorities. We've got work to do, but we have got everything in place to get us there, which is really exciting.
So I think digital publishers have an enormous, not just opportunity, but, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. So they have an enormous responsibility to ensure that their audience is given, you know, unbiased and good information, or just entertaining information, but that, you know, the negative voices that hate speech or you know, false information around climate change or any of that is not empowered by any digital publication, you know, is not funded by the very brands that fund digital publications. It's all our responsibility now. This is a new world. We have to do better. Like, come on, we cannot continue how we've just done for the last 20, 30 years. we need to do better, because I've got kids, and you know, my kids are the same color as me, and if they ever become a footballer, I cannot see people written on walls what they've been writing about Marcus Rashford and stuff like that. So it's all our duty. Let's do better, please.